Well, it's Monday. Yep, now I'm trying to fix something down here. Okay, it's Monday morning, and that can only mean one thing, and that is that it's time for relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. I'm Greg. I play Ulseth Ralph in the Furbog Fighter in our D&D campaign, which is on Sundays at 2, so join us then. And what we're doing today is going to be the exciting conclusion of this Dragonkin. So you can see that last time we were on, I painted, some of it. And what I'm going to be doing today is hopefully finishing it. So he's wearing this sort of thing here, and it's an undershirt that goes around. You'll have to see where the boundaries are. That's going to be royal purple. I pulled that out last time. And then, if I try to focus up close, we're going to do something with the crossbow. I haven't decided whether I would paint that just sort of wood or whether I'm going to try to embellish it in some way. It's got a little design work on the side. I'm not sure I'll be able to pull that off or not. We'll see. And then this is going to be a metallic dragon. And I'm using this thing called dull aluminum to paint the skin. So I'll be doing that. I'm painting that all around. And then doing my best to get the facial features done in some way. So the first task, I think, is to... There it is. It's like under here, around there. That's the purple part. Around here. And then underneath, we'll try to get that. Do our best with that. Then we're going to do shading and hopefully not mess it up too much by doing the shading. I want to do a little bit on these bangs and necklace. Tiny little bits of brown so that the roots of the bangs are a little darker than the tips. We'll see how that goes. I want to use a darker kind of bronze color to highlight some of the texture on the brass part of the shield up here. Really have no idea what to do with the crossbow. And then I was going to paint some sort of like little sign or symbol or something on the back of this quiver where the crossbow points. We'll sort of dive into these kinds of things and see how it goes. Yes, we will do a flip. That's a good way to start, isn't it? Let's see. What can I flip today? I have these little discs that were made for the base of some of the other figures. I can flip that. There. Almost like flipping a coin. It keeps ending up there. Finally it landed the other way. So we'll throw that back. That was fun. So all sorts of little detailed stuff that has to be done today, and then some shading, and then some touching up, and then shading, I guess. As I go around, I'm seeing little spots. There's a spot here that doesn't have paint on it that needs to be painted. And I think that's the kind of blue color. What was I using? Royal blue? I can't remember now which one it was. Anyway, I'm going to do that first because I just saw that spot. And if I don't get it now, it'll probably be missed. It's in my vortex shaker mixer thing here. I can get the tiniest little drop. Yeah, I can. It's up. There's a little bubble on the top here. I don't even need to waste a whole spot of paint. But you can see that there's this white spot there. Hopefully, that's the right color. Probably would have been helpful. At some point to have made a note of which colors are being used. But I thought that I would actually finish this the last time I started, but I'm really slow at this, and so yeah, it's taking twice as long as it would for maybe Nikki to do it. Kind of thinking that this color combination up here on the front has turned out pretty well though. Right, there's a start. Let's see, get the royal purple mixed up here. Managed to get paint on my fingers already. This will be a day. Nice buzzing, yes. Isn't it? Oh, let's squeeze out a drop of this royal purple. Hopefully it'll look okay. And yeah, might as well start with the really hard part. The part up here that's in contact with all sorts of other stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm mostly staying on on camera already this morning. That's good. It's always a challenge, is try to hold it in the place. I can get to, but also shows up on camera at the same time. It's almost the kind of thing, you know, we're holding the brush here, and moving the model around, and look at that. There's a whole side underneath there. Big white spot that hadn't been painted at all, that I hadn't seen because I hadn't held it upside down. Same is true there. So I'm going to get this down to where the skin is eventually going to be. So I'm going to paint down way past the demarcation line so that I don't end up with those white spots like that. Okay, that took a while. I think I got it covered there. One of those, I can't tell if it's wet paint reflection, whether it's just not covered. Yep, managed to get it on the black. Nice. I'll probably do a little bit more of getting it on the black down here, so we'll do some touch up a little later. Quiver to the blue belt. So at some point, you know, there's a decision to be made about these spots that aren't painted underneath, that you can't see unless you turn the model over. Whether you just keep messing with them, you know, whether you just say, well, you can't see them. That turned out okay. This will be a little easier because the crossbow isn't painted yet. So I don't have to be too terribly cautious. I only need to be cautious about, you know, hitting that. with my brush because why not? Clearly got some major gray touching up to do. There's a lot of white spots on that anyway. So the challenge there is just simply going to be trying to remember what color that was. Gray. The dark gray. It's the paint that's out here anyway. And see the nude gray anyway, so it's probably not that. Yeah, we're just going to try to get these edges, these boundaries painted. And then I'll use the larger brush to finish off the rest of it, I think. Yeah, that gray just didn't cover very well. There's spots here too. There's white spots showing through, so we'll probably touch that up next just to get it done while it's fresh in one's mind. Kind of a pain bouncing back and forth between little drops of color, but on the other hand, getting it done right away means not forgetting about it. How much of a mess it's going to be when I start working on the crossbow. You can see that there's, just really hard to reach areas back there. So that'll be interesting. I probably should have decided what to do with the crossbow kind of earlier on, but nope, didn't do that. Yeah, it's a bigger brush, fill in the rest of that base coat. Underneath here. Easier said than done, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Again, one of those things I can't tell if that little spot is a spot that is resisting the paint or if it's a reflection of like a lump or something. And well, there isn't much of the purple, but I think it's pretty decent. No, there's, oh my, okay. Looking at it, there's more of that shirt under here. You can see where it comes across under there. So I'm gonna have to squeeze more out. Take a little brush. See if I can't get that paint in there. Basically under his left shoulder. See how that goes. I might be doing a lot of back and forth touching up. Or maybe not. Let's see. So the important thing is the boundary here. See, I haven't painted that yet, the back of its head. So the important part is the boundary with the quiver here. I think I can get at from this angle. There, under where the crossbow is, under here. And I'm okay getting it onto the scales on the back of its head, because those aren't painted yet. That. Okay. And on the other side, it's not too bad because most of the boundary is with where its silver skin is going to go with the crossbow. So it's a matter of getting into, basically getting into the spots. It's under here, between the crossbow and the blue. Not too much of it, but where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be purple way down in there. Purple everywhere. There's this gap down way up inside here. At some point, let's touch that up a little bit. I'm going to do all sorts of little spots of touch up right now. You need a tiny bit of brass. Put the field here where I need to make it purple. Need, what was it? Look at that. Wow, that's just amazing. Well, there can be spots that look like they were very well painted last time, but are not this time. So I'm just going to be using, just painting all sorts of little areas that the coverage isn't very good. So we're just going to keep doing that all the way around, especially in these areas where some of these spots like on the shield here where it just looks like it just decided to not be covered. This little orange shield where there were cracks in it or something, that'd be one thing, but this is a Dragonkin shield, and definitely don't want that look. So we will be doing dots of touch up. Well, let's see, what else did we need? Dark gray. Some places. I'm gonna do that real quick. Game color and full color. Yeah, these two black colors are really very different from each other. I think it might have been that one because that's the one that I've got pulled out. Right. This one that's sitting next to the other. Another one of those where I just need a tiny little dot from the top here. Got a little bit of purple onto the strap there. And that's all it was, just that bit. Really nice flat black. I might need it again. I'm going to paint that S on there in a little bit. Sooner than later. Here that can't tell. Again, I can't tell if that's not painted or if the purple just didn't get to it. Either case, I don't like that shininess. I'm gonna try to get the black onto it. Make it the flat look. Okay. I kind of hit it heavily with the purple. Control. Yeah, there's this white spot that needs to be touched. Yeah, this gray really didn't seem to cover too well. There wasn't much of it, just those little flaps down there that I wanted to have a neutral color between the kind of brighter blues in the front and the royal purple in the back. The royal purple is a decent color, but it kind of clashes with everything else. So I think that turned out okay. I think purple will still be alive because I'm seeing some spots that need a touch up. Here. getting any purple paint on here. Yeah, he does have a very tragic backstory. Why don't you tell it? Importantly, he has a very, very good idea what happened to Irvin. Irvin is actually still alive, you know. He was interdimensionally ported into another plane where he is suspended in a state of perpetual suspension. That's why it's called suspension. And one of these days we'll probably have to make that trip because we have to find out who the murder cult was that left those runes behind. There's all sorts of loose ends in our campaign that we need to tie up. We've hardly even gotten anywhere. We're like 7 years worth of stuff that we need to do yet. And I need to do this crossbow at some point, and that requires figuring out, making a decision about color. To just make it like a rich wood color. We've got this new wash. Smoky ink that looks really good on flat earth. Makes it look really rich. So if I just painted that whole thing that color, painted it brown and then just use the ink on it, it might turn out okay. In some ways, I don't want it to distract from everything else, you know. I think I'm going to try that. Take this flat earth color, give it a vortex spin. See if we can paint this without getting it. There's hardly anything left of this color. This will look terrible until it's washed. It's going to be very light colored and flat looking. But the smoky ink wash gives it a really deep, rich, kind of reddish color. It's very pretty. Mostly this is going to be about painting enough of it so that it's convincingly covered. without getting it onto all sorts of places I don't need it. I'm going to paint the drawstring. I'm going to paint it leather brown. And when that's washed, it turns out to look pretty good too. Here is to get the base coat on the crossbow without getting the base coat on everything else. Way too much detail on the crossbow print. Yeah, that's going to have to, that wrap. Just the string on it. This paint is, I'm not sure what the problem is. It's not covering that well. Maybe because there's hardly any of it left, it's just down near the bottom of the bottle. I might paint the drawstring. I'm not sure the leather would show that well. I think I'm going to paint that like dark gray or something. So there's a contrast. Otherwise it'll be like brown on brown and that. Yeah, it's just not going to show up. Yeah, got that down on the purple. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure where the edge was, and it wasn't there, so I need to clean that up a little bit. This paint is about ready to be retired. It might be good still. I could probably paint like a couple of floor tiles with it. But it's definitely not the right consistency for detail work right now anymore. Right, not even close, right? There we go. And every once in a while I need to look up to make sure that things are still on camera, especially when I'm trying to support this in awkward ways. It's almost like this paint is too thick. You lose some of the detail on the crossbow, but yeah, nobody will know it's there if it's covered up. But it'll be a nice color anyway. It's a little bit for touch-up later. I'm not sure. The wash might cover it well enough. Yeah, so I need to let that dry, and then I'll do the drawstring. And I guess the last part of the base coat is the skin. But on the brass that just isn't covering right. It's like what I tried to do is touch it up. The brush that was still dirty, maybe? Not sure. Darken it, but I wanted to do that with the bronze color and not with just leftover brown or whatever is on there. And we'll do a little touching up. And then anyway, that's the vermilion. And that wasn't there earlier. It looks like we're going to be spending the better part of 2 or 3 hours just finding spots that got screwed up. That got really screwed up. It's like one of those, the brush was moving and it hit it somehow. Okay, well, I think as we're waiting for that brown to dry, so I can do the drawstring, let's do that little purple touch-up bit. Been doing a lot of purple touching up. slightest little bit of wash. There's contours there in the folds in the cloth that you just really can't see. If I do the wash, it'll just be down there. You won't, I mean, it just won't make any difference up here. You can't see it. Guess that's a reflection. Okay, well, there. I think what I'm going to try to do now is paint this little embellishment on the back of the quiver, because it's just really bland. And try to paint like a stylized, just a scroll kind of thing. Not really silver. Yeah, it's not kind of the look we're going for here. And I need to get some black down in here. Where the, looks like the brown went a little too far, but I'll probably be touching up black after. I think I'm just going to use the brass. See if I can't pull this off. If not, the worst that comes to it is I just repaint the whole thing in black. Little bristles. And this little bristle brush. So that's pretty close to what I was looking for. I might touch up that little bit up there a little bit to make it more rounded. But for the most part, I think that kind of came out okay. It looks better than just plain black, right? I need to get the black paint out, so I'm going to touch that a little bit up there in the corner. And then down there on the edge. But otherwise, I'm not going to mess with this terribly much because I'm not going to mess with it at all. It'll just make it worse, make it a mess. So yeah, I'm going to let that dry. And what I'm going to pull out next is this bronze color. Going to try a larger brush, sort of like a dry brush technique, just over the surface of this grass. What I want to try to do is highlight some of the raised areas. Really close to the other color. Just a little darker. And it's really kind of hard to tell if anything's coming of this or not. I think it is. Just act like it looks better. Now we're going to paint the drawstring on the crossbow. Back to that flat black color. It actually looks pretty decent. You use it for a little touch-up anyway. Don't get enough paint on the brush and it just goes nowhere. Sometimes you get too much and it goes the opposite of nowhere. Get these little bits that show from the back, or they show from the front. It's tied around. Okay, that brush bumped into something, and I wonder what. As promised, that brown looks pretty boring, pretty bad and dull. When the wash goes on it, hopefully it will look very pretty. We will see. And we wanted to do just this tiny little bit here to round that corner fence. Yeah, I think that turned out okay. And this string is coming along all right. Still a little wet. So we will let that dry for a while before washing it. Yeah, so there. So you have any spare hydrate prints? Yeah. Hydration here. Okay, now all sorts of colors on this guy. They were all nicely put away in these holders that Alexis had designed and had printed and put together. But then I pulled them out. Okay, there's a spot there that needs a touch up. I do believe I used gunmetal for that. Right at the top of the armor on the shoulder. It's weird. This is sometimes these caps don't seem to close as well as you'd hope. I got some brown paint right up there, big brown blot. It needs to be gunmetaled back to where it was. Okay. Before the break is, I think, to start painting the base coat of the dull aluminum skin in. There's some touchy spots. We got hands, we got these little spots here, little openings between the armor on the arms, here and here, hand underneath there, then the borders on the legs, and then I'll use a larger brush to fill that in, and then around the head, of course, all these edges, and then I'm going to use a larger brush to fill that in. And we're going to have to depend on a wash to get the detail on the head, and then figure out how to paint the eyes. It's always a little challenge. These metallics are made for airbrushing, so they tend to be really liquidy. And they run all over, so I need to be careful in applying them so that they don't just run and cover everything that I don't want covered. They cover really well, a little bit goes a long way, but sometimes they go a long way. And basically for aircraft. But I got a whole set of them because I was thinking I'd paint an airplane sometime, which may or may not ever happen. But we've also used them in these models with, you know, decent effect. So this is a metallic dragon. Dragonkin, I guess, to be accurate. Now I need to paint this hand. I think I managed to touch the brush to the armor. In the spot there. Okay, I got that way over onto the armor, so we definitely have a lot of color fixing to do. From the angle I was at, I couldn't clearly see where the boundary lines were, and I missed. So, yeah, up here, you can see that. At the edges of the fingers where they hit this magical shield thing. Not getting it too much on the magical shield thing. Okay, well, except for that one slip, that isn't too bad. Let's see what we can do with the other arm here.
You just had a puppy scamper across the floor right there. Somebody's on the loose. Okay, just got a little bit on the turquoise there. Just have to remember to come back and touch that up. Let's do the hand that no one can ever see down here, holding on the shield. Too bad. Now let's do the boundaries of the legs up here. Not wearing any undies, huh? Okay. And do the other one. Get this little difficult area underneath here. The gap between the purple cloak and the skin. I'm going to get out the slightly larger brush now. Make sure that I'm getting it covered. feet and legs here. Be easy to miss some big spots, and then that would show up later. There's this claws and spur. And I think I'm just going to paint those in a darker metallic color. I'm tempted to maybe do like a flat black or something. I don't think that. I think we need to continue the metallic theme. And I could just simply go with the gunmetal, but I think I don't know. All the other metallics are really shiny. Maybe I'll end up having to go with like a neutral gray or something, and then let's let the wash take care of it. Okay, so we got these done, and then need to do the head and some of the spots like under the arm there and things. So getting out the little brush again to finish these, because yeah. So see what we can do up here without causing too much damage. A lot of detail that hopefully will, as they say, come out in the wash. I don't know who they are. As I say, come out in the wash, because that's what I'm going to use to try to enhance the detail. The scaliness, the eyes, that sort of thing. Okay, now there's this area under here. And around the edge on this side. I'm going to use the larger brush on the rest of the head. This is a lot of texture there. Make sure that it gets covered. So to be nice and consistent. The thing about this paint being really very thin, so to speak, is that it doesn't hide any of the detail, which is nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, since that base coat is in, is look around at the whole thing to see where I need significant touch-up. Here's the progress so far. If we can get it to focus, I'll just slowly rotate it. Thank you for the hydrate points, by the way. That was definitely needed. So yeah, that's kind of how it looks. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to use that smoky wash on the crossbow. I don't want the crossbow necessarily to be a real major part, but I want it to look good, and that looks good on that color wood. I'm going to use a little bit of brown wash on the teeth there, just so that the roots are darker than the tips. I might pull out the blue wash just to emphasize the texture on this in front, but I really like the color, and so I might not do that. I might test, a little bit to see how it looks, but it might, if anything, kind of disguise the color variation, especially in the scaling parts down there. And they look okay because I did the chevrons, the scales kind of show. So I know Nikki says shading is really important, but I'm not that good at it, and I don't want to mess up some of the things that I've got. I think I'm going to use a tiny little bit of black wash on the purple, just to get some of the folds, and then black wash on the skin to emphasize the musculature on the legs, and then of course at the top where I want to emphasize all the scaling, do the mouth, try to be pretty careful about that. And then I need to do something with the eyes, and I think I was thinking yellow, but actually I'm thinking gold. I think I might use gold on the eyes, and then try to do a little bit of a vertical pupil. But there's little spots all over the place, like on the dark gray here. And just as I'm rotating it, the black on the drawstring, I'm just seeing little spots of like white that need to be covered. I don't see too much in terms of like one color going over the other where it shouldn't be. See a lot of that, but there's spots that are kind of missed, like inside the feather there. There's just a little spot that wasn't covered. So I'll probably be pulling out little bits of almost all the colors I've used just to do touch up. Start doing some of the shading. I don't know what time is it. I've got like 15 minutes. So in that 15 minutes, I'm going to start with just trying on the back here. Let's see if I can maybe the teeth. Okay, we're going to do some umber washing here. This is almost empty. And I don't want it that dark. I want just a little bit of it. So I'm going to take one of the fresh bottles of umber wash. And you can see how nicely separated it is, where all the pigments fall to the bottom and the yeah. So I'm going to use this vortex spinner mixer thing. I'm sure it'll do a great job. In fact, if you could see it, which you can't unless I move the whole camera over. Here we go. You can watch the top of the bottle as the pigment comes up into it. Give this a good massive stirring. This is maybe even focus it back on the bottle. And what I'm going to try to do is get get the bottle open. There we go. Get a little drop of this out. Clean the bottle cap. And I'm going to try with tiny little bits of drops of dry brush, delicate strokes to just get a little bit of color. And these little bits of color up at the top of these. Their teeth. That one came out kind of like the way I wanted it to. I want to catch the tops of them so that they're a little darker right at the top. I don't want a big bright spot. There, so if you can see it, there's this tiny shading where it's darker on the top. And then points there. So just hardly at all. In fact, since I've got this out, let's see what happens against the purple here. This might do the trick. I just want to get a little bit in the folds of the cloth. Just try to tone down the monochronicity here. Since I had this out, I was thinking maybe the brown would work even better than the black might in accomplishing that, because the color is not so contrasty. Pretty subtle, but I think it's actually working. Let that dry and see what happens. Okay, I think this is getting, the crossbow is dry enough now that I can get out the other wash. This is a nice color. This is new, and to us anyway, this smoky ink. And when I've used this before on the flat earth, which is very flat right now, so as you can see on the crossbow, it's really, that's really flat, right? So what I'm hoping is that by taking this smoky ink color, that it'll turn out like it did with the floors. It's got a little red in it. Doesn't totally cover up the base color, but it gives it a really rich tone. And I'm not too concerned about getting it on the black drawstring because it's black and you can't see it. But I want to get this part up here that shows. And unless the base coat probably did, it probably covered up some of the detail. Here, you can see already the difference between this flat brown and where this went. Okay, so we'll do this on the rest of it then. So you can see that the crossbow turns out to be nothing fancy. Doesn't have a scroll on it or anything like that. And that was actually kind of what I was going for. I mean, it's just there. I didn't want it to really be distracting compared to some of the other things. Yeah, and that smoky ink turned it. I mean, it went from the dull color to it's very pretty wood. In our dungeon sets, we are going to be using this combination for our wooden floors, for things like taverns and manor houses and things. And it gives it a really nice, rich look. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is, let's see, I saw just little bits here and there that need to be touched up. I'm going to take the scarlet red back out. And if you hadn't noticed before, there are some spots in the arrows here where it wasn't covered. They're way down deep inside, so I'm using the darker red. And I just want to make sure that they're not glaringly showing out. There was that one there. It might have been the only one, but it was a gap between the arrows that the fletches, the feathers that hadn't been painted. It's right there, and now it is. So that's good. You know, the face of that shield looks okay, but I want it to look dirty. But there's a spot in the brass that when I touched up the vermilion here, remember that was that blot. Got just a little bit over on the brass that it shouldn't have. So we'll just touch that up. That's all that was. Yeah, so we're getting close to break time here. So I'm just going to go around the model and looking for obvious spots where it's yucky. Dark gray. There's just some issues there. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put black wash on that, and hopefully that will kind of fix it. But this paint is there's hardly any of it, but there it is. Okay. Yeah, what I'm going to do is clean off that cap. Or maybe not. There was an X-Acto knife out here that we were using to clean off the caps of the bottles, but I don't see it now. So in looking at this, I'm going to avoid using the wash on the blue. I just really like the way that came out. I need to do a fair amount of washing on the silvery skin. I see a spot there that is, I believe, the turquoise. Painted the body color. We obviously got touched there. And it's fortunately only the turquoise and not the light blue as well. So I can just touch that up just like that. And since I have the turquoise out, I will look around to see if there's any spots that need to be spotted. It's interesting. There's always that optical illusion of the color it's next to. This and this are the same color, but where it's next to the lighter blue, it looks lighter than it does where it's next to the dark blue. I think we're okay with that. Right on. Yeah, there's a spot of the black right up on the top, on the shoulder there. Pretty obvious spot. Spot under the top of the bottle here, rather than wasting an entire drop. And yeah, that's enough. So there's just this tiny little spot of silver up there that needed to be touched. Okay, on the quiver. A little bit on the drawstring, maybe. Yeah, the wood on the crossbow came out. See, it's really a pretty color, isn't it? Yeah, that little slight brown wash on the, I think that worked pretty well on bringing out the contours on that. I need to do more. Okay, so doing after the break is pulling out the dark gray wash. I need to find that. And I'm going to start washing. Well, no. I haven't decided what to do with the claws yet, have I? Maybe the spurs and the claws just are not a separate color. Because I can't think of what color they would be that would look good. I could paint them another metallic color like the gunmetal, like the armor. Really not the skin color. If I paint them a non-metallic, I don't know. Okay. Well, since they're on the feet, and it's really easy to paint over them, I'm going to get this. This color actually kind of works pretty well with the black wash. It's called Field Blue. It's a really, really dark blue. I might use those because then they'll look dark, but not black. They get kind of gray. I want to use that since it's out and I've got a little brush and the skin color is dry. If it looks bad, like I said, it's on the feet and they are like the easiest spot in the entire model to touch up. So we'll pull this color out and put little dots of this paint on the claws. Yeah, it kind of goes okay with the metallic. Okay, we'll do little spurs in the back here. Yeah, I think it was, they needed to be other than the metallic skin color, and I guess this should work okay. Especially with some black wash or the dark gray wash later. The claws kind of go down into the base, whatever it is. I'm going to paint them down into the base so that we don't end up just like with these tiny bits later. Okay, so that'll be that. I'm going to take one last look around and then take a break and then come back and start working on the body color. Doing some shading and then working on the face, see what we could do with that. So as we go around, the teeth are shaded. Those came out pretty decent. I'm going to leave the blue, maybe the belt. I think I'm going to put some of the shading on the belt, just because it's got these twists and turns, and that kind of disappears. So I'm going to pull the blue out for that. It won't hurt it. And that's the only part that will be color changed. The shield, is not too bad. The back looks okay. Little twisty, scrolly thing on the scabbard, I think, looks all right. There's a big chunk of brown. There for some reason. On its head, so we'll cover that up. Yeah, the head and the face will be a little bit of a challenge. Ooh, yeah, there was that huge spot there. I'm glad I did that. This gunmetal color. Remember where I misjudged where the body was and where the armor was. Back on the armor. Okay, I'm glad I caught that. I'll be using the black wash on the armor too, some, because there's especially on the wrist, there's some contours there. A little bit here, in the shoulders. It'll be a little kind of subtle, but it should work. Yeah, otherwise I think I got that. So yeah, body wash. That's what we'll be doing after the break. So hang in there. Thanks for watching so far, and we'll be back in somewhere around 10 or 15 minutes, depending on whether someone tells me I need to eat something or not. And hopefully we will get close to finishing this guy up. See you soon. Be back in just a few. Well, back. That took a little longer than I promised it would because, there's always something. You have to pet the puppies, water the plants. Yeah, there were all sorts of little chores and things that happened along the way. And then I checked email, and there was always something to read on email. Anyway, I'm back. Yay. And now what I'm looking for is the blue wash, the dark gray wash. I'm going to use the blue wash on the belt. The blue-gray color. It's not bad. It should won't change the color much, but I'm hoping that by getting some of it into the divots here, the bends and twists, the twists basically on the belt, they'll add just enough color contrast so that they'll stand out a little bit. So we'll see. Doesn't look like it's going to hurt anything anyway. Yeah, a little highlighting there. And then we're going to start working on the skin. This wash to get really thoroughly mixed. The pigment is uniformly and evenly distributed, uniformly and evenly. Out here. And I'm going to start on the legs and the feet because it's easiest to fix if there's a problem. Just kind of painting this in, and what I want to do is have it highlight the contours in the print and maybe tone down the shininess just a little bit, not a lot. I don't want it to puddle too much. Look like the contours are emphasized and not just that it's dirty. Try to get it like in the, you want to cover the whole thing so I get kind of a uniform tone, but I don't want to get like brush marks and stuff. So let's move it around. I think that's not bad. We'll continue along on the other leg here. we've got this dark gray, we've got black. Black would be too much. It tends to be uneven. And we're getting a lighter gray color. It's not here yet, though. It's on its way. And we'll be trying that out, like on some walls and things, to see how it looks. I'm assuming that it's lighter gray because the pigment is lighter, not that there's less of it. But we'll find out when we get it. We'll see how it looks. Get it between the toes there. And then up on here, basically I want to tone down the hand, but get it between the fingers. Same underneath here. Just wanted to tone down the shininess just a little. Yeah. Emphasize the separation of the fingers. Up here. It's just a lot of scale detail. I think we start out lightly. Pick up the scales. Seems to be doing it. A lot of detail here on the side. I'm just try to get it into the grooves a little bit. A little bit on again, just to emphasize the the contours. Okay, so I think that's coming along. But a couple of indentations in the skin here. And shadow it maybe, just a little bit. Okay, on the head. What I need to work on here is I want to do a little bit on the mouth. Tiny little bit of, sure. I'm gonna try this and see how this works. What I want to do, there's like this tiny opening in the mouth. I want you to be able to see it a little bit more. Oh, and paint it black. I use the wash to get it into that crease. Do this side first. We get it to flow in there. That's set for a bit. I'm going to go on the other side and do the same thing. I think as long as I use gravity. That worked okay. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. So I just want to get it to settle in. Just right along in there. And I think that worked out okay. Use this little brush to just get some dots. Dots of orange on the top of the head here. And scaly and warty. Just pick it up a little bit. And maybe some dots along the scales here. Let's see. Pick out some scales. Getting tiny little bits of wash in some of the creases. Just to give them some shading, some highlighting. You can see it works pretty well. And against that silver color, real dark. Doesn't like paint over it. Just enough so you can really see the and the mouth worked out. Now I need to do something about the eyes. I was going to try to do gold, and I think I'm just going to do that. We have a lot of gold paint. I'm hoping that if I mess up the eyes, it won't be too hard to repaint and rewash it. We'll find out. Gold. We've got polished gold. More polished gold, more bright brass. Just going to use gold. Oh, we'll see. We'll see if I can get this into where the eyes are. That looks pretty. Actually, I think that looks pretty good. Gonna have to try to mark the pupils a little later, and I probably will use a little pen to do that. Especially okay from the front. I think I got it pretty much where the eyes go anyway. So, I'm gonna let this dry a little bit. And then I'm gonna try to do the pupils. I think the mouth came out okay. I'm gonna work on the base. Get that painted while letting everything else dry and settle, and then we'll come back and see what we need to do. It's just kind of lumpy and rocky. I'd be tempted to paint it like gray with a black wash, but that's it just looks too close to the skin color. So I'm going to paint it. I'm just going to paint it kind of a dark brown color. Red brown. The brown wash. I think that might look okay. Background's dark enough. Background might be better. It's a little darker. It doesn't show the wash though, and has a fair amount of lumpiness. So the red brown is here, so we'll just use it. What I'm going to be doing here is painting between the toes with a little brush. And I'm using a larger brush for the rest of it. Probably even taking it off the base because there's sticky tack all around it. But the tricky part is getting around the feet first, so we'll do that. I want kind of a dark color underneath, but I don't want it in a gray tone. It would be too close to the color of the this brown. This brown looks like it'll highlight pretty well. I wouldn't say highlight, but I mean contrast with the body color well enough so that it doesn't just disappear into the base. Metallic is not a good primer. Let me just say that. Paint sticks to it terribly well. Underneath the spur there, because with the bigger brush, it definitely will be bumping into it. Very pebbly, that's for sure. Okay, now let's get the other foot. We can take it off the sticky, get the whole thing painted. And then go back and look at the model and make a decision about what, if anything, still needs to be done to it. Getting a little careless. When I don't see what I mean, bring the brush back and forth and bounce it against something. Let's see, I haven't painted anything, but it sure felt like it. Yeah. Okay. So we've got the foot outlined here. And what I'm going to do now is temporarily pick it up off the base here. You can see how the sticky tack kind of went around it. Get out this larger brush and finish painting the base. Don't get too many dots later with these darker colors when it dries. Oftentimes it shrinks a little bit. And if it shrinks a little bit, it pulls out these little dots like there was a bubble there or something. It's not really a bubble, but it just pulls away a little bit. So I'm working it into all these nooks and crannies in the base as much as I can without getting it onto other places I don't want it. Make sure it gets down to the bottom. And we're going to put a dark brown wash on this. Pretty heavy wash actually, just to fill in and to show the texture of the base. Was the model maker went out of their way to make the base all rocky and craggy and everything, so might as well show some of it. So this is where the Tamiya kind of paint is good. Instead of squeezing out a little drop at a time, which is really a good idea and helpful when doing the detail on the model with the Viejos. When you're painting a little larger area like this, being able to dip into the model with your brush, let's move things along a little more quickly. So hopefully this will dry up pretty quickly, and then I can get the dark brown wash out, not the umber, the dark brown, and wash that and give it some texture. I'm going to let that set for a bit. Set tightly, wash the brush. I'm using the umber wash a lot, but this dark brown actually is a little better color for this kind of thing. It's a little bit darker. Tiny bit of red in it. So let's look at this. I got the teeth pretty well. The eyes are glowy. I got too much. The gold kind of dripped down the side there. No, I guess that's just a reflection. So what I'm going to try to do here, I think we have a red pen. Somewhere in one of these cup holders somewhere used to be a red pen, a little microdot red pen that I was going to use for the pupils, but I don't see it anymore. I'm not sure if it's upstairs or if it's somewhere else. I don't know. Let me put my glasses on so I can see a little bit further than 6 inches. Got the black ones. Yeah, that's not a problem. Let's just open this up and put it away. We're waiting for paint to dry. Always exciting. Now the micron set is complete again. Ew. Yeah, it's too bad I can't find that little red dot there. Thought he would look good with little red eyeballs. I suppose I could try to do it with a brush. I'm going to wait a little bit. I'm going to wait for this to dry, and then I'm going to wash the base. I think the head actually came out pretty well. I think the wash highlighted the contours pretty well. The shield looks a little dull. You know, the only thing I would do is if I had clear coat, some like glossy clear coat, is I might do that like a varnish on it, but I don't have any clear. I have a spray, but require a masking to get that done. I'm just going to leave that as it is. I think the wash contouring on the legs came out. I think this is actually coming out pretty cool. The only thing I could think of would be to get like little red eyeballs on there, but again, I'm not sure where that pen went. If you don't mind, since I know that there's like billions of you watching, I'm going to just take a real quick look around to see if I can find it, if it's down here somewhere. It is. What we have here, if it's still working, is a super fine point. It looks orange on my monitor, but it's really red. And it's super fine point. And we'll see if it's super fine points, a little red point here. Yeah, that's a super fine point there. Better. A little more on this side. A little vertical like that. That's good. That's what we wanted. A little vertical, slightly lizard-like eyeball. So what we're going to do now is put that aside and vortex clean the dark brown wash. Vortex mixing. Hello, Paula. I'm glad somebody's watching. What do you think? Focus is there. Get it on camera. Yeah, I think the colors came out okay. I'm glad I did things like black and gray, in a few spots, just sort of some areas of neutrality, not like something you do. Not as nice as yours, but it's not bad. So let me get the base done here. Drop a little dark brown. Yeah, get a slightly larger brush, and I'm just going to slop this around. And if we can't get it to show up, texture in the base here. This is where I want it to puddle. Unlike in a few other places, I want this to puddle up in the low spots. It looks like I'm succeeding in getting enough in here that it is puddling. And hopefully those puddles will turn decently dark, and the non-puddles will be slightly lighter. I don't know that there's really too much more to do on this, so I'm going to set it up here. You can still see the stuff drying. And I've got, I don't know, like a little more than a half hour to go. And I think I'll do something with it. What will I do? I will find a thing that needs to be painted. There was at one point here. Set pieces that were prime, not yet painted. I mean, I could start on this guy. There's another Dragonkin, but I wouldn't get very far. There was a fireplace that was laying around here. And as I wandered about looking for it, you can still hear me muttering in the background as I look around to see if I can find that thing that finding all sorts of other stuff that's laying around. That's exactly what I thought I was looking for. Found it. Step that over there because that gets used somewhat often. And just to show you all of these paints that are scattered all over the place were, when I started on Friday, very neatly stored in the openings on this. So let me show this off. These are PLA spools, the things that are on the outside, and on the inside of them are, you can see where the seam is, custom made to fit Viejo bottles. Yeah, pretty clever. And then they were glued together using a non-proprietary, easily obtainable adhesive that works really well on this PLA. These were all designed and printed on the printers back there. And I took all these paints out, and yeah, they used to be very nicely sorted and stored in here, like that. Put some away, you can see how this works. Anyway, yeah, it's really a cool thing. Yeah, this was ivory. And one of the things, I mean, you can actually see the colors pretty well, better than I thought we could initially. But there's spots, there spaces above and below these where we can put like a label that will have the a color swatch or just a sample painted on, and the name of the paint color. Anyway, that's kind of the plan. Used to be there. This one. But yeah, this is pretty cool. And there's another one I will show you there that is custom made for the Tamiya bottles. And then there will be another one that will be custom made for these larger Viejo bottles for the wash and metallic colors, which are almost the size, but that's a little bigger. So there'll be a custom size for that. So I just wanted to show those off. That's a really cool invention. And if I don't make a mess of things too much, actually helps keep the work surface much neater. This guy's, see how that's pooling down there? You can see it underneath there, where the wash was. It's pooling there, and it's showing off the contours pretty well. So I think this guy is done. And I was looking for a fireplace before I decided to show you our custom stuff, because I know there was a work on a little bit and throw it together pretty quickly, but I don't know where it went now. Oh, this is cool. This goes inside. Again, custom fit. They just fit perfectly inside the reel, and that's what holds it together so that it can rotate. Anyway, Alexis should be really pretty proud of that, because it's a really good reuse of these spools, and we have a lot of them, the PLA spools, but also helps keep the paints, if one goes out of their way to put them away, keeps them all nice and neat. Yep. Anyway, that fireplace was hanging around here for a really good long time, but now it's gone. So, nope, it's not gone. Here it is. Ta-da! Look, I found it. Yeah, I actually can work on this pretty quickly. I'm going to use the flat earth on the wood with that really nice smoky ink wash. for the bottom and the top side. And what we've done with this is use the neutral gray with a black wash. And it's turned out actually really cut quite nicely. So I think in a half hour, since most of this is not really fancy brushwork, is that I can get this pretty well, move it along pretty well. So I'm going to paint the, I'm going to paint the stone first, inside and around the back. Okay. And then I'm going to paint the wooden part, the hearth up in front here and around the side and the top. Use the neutral gray. And in the scheme of things, is gigantic brush. So these are the brushes I've been using before. Where are they? There they are. Tiny, like little 4 bristle brush, and then this one I called my larger brush. But this, I can use a giant brush on this and very quickly cover the area and get the paint down into the nooks and crannies in the stone. It's probably getting time to replace what's left of that orange sticky tack with something new, because there's enough residual paint on it now that using the paint in the cap first, there's no sense wasting that. And yeah, I can use the big brush to scoop it out, get it into the nooks and crannies and crevices. I had done several of these before with varying levels of looking good or not, and started to get a little better at using the washes, to make it look really dark inside and mimic where the smoke would be. I would say not amazingly well done, but, convincing enough so that if you put it up against the wall in a tavern or a manor house, it would look okay. And this light gray, this neutral gray, shows the wash pretty well. So you can get the look of the dark area where the smoke would have been. Used up the bottle cap gray, so we're just going to use this. So do the back too. Usually you would expect that the back wouldn't show, but you never know how things get turned around. It might be like one of those kind of fireplaces that rotates and lets you get into a secret room. In which case, even though you don't have the stone texture in the back, at least you've got the stone color. Just finish swapping this in. This dries pretty quickly, so what I'm going to do is in quick time, and then I'm going to paint the top and the edges, and then paint the bottom here, and that should be dry by the time I do that little demarcation line there.
Yeah, that nice quickly. It's interesting when doing figures, that's the fine brush and that's the big brush. Okay. For detail and broad scope areas, when you're doing these set pieces like the fireplace, that's the big brush and that's the detail. This one probably needs a soaking in some isopropyl alcohol because there's getting to be a nice paint buildup there at the base of the bristles. But I said we're going to do flat earth using the smoky ink. There's hardly any of this paint left. We're getting down to basically the pigment on the bottom, but we'll just we'll use it here. We'll spread it on, get it thin enough so that some of the wood grain actually shows through. We'll use this brown by itself. I mean, it's a nice color, but by itself, it's like it says, it's flat earth. I mean, the color looks really flat when it dries, but because it's light enough, it takes a wash really well, and the wash brings out things like the wood grain and whatever. Let me see if I can use this big brush. Paint a nice straight line on the back here. There isn't a real demarcation line because this is just the back of the print. It's a slightly raised edge. We're just going to use that as our guide. Okay. Now we're going to paint the base here. This paint is about, when I used it last time to paint the crossbow, I said maybe this would still be okay for a set piece. It's just barely serviceable for this. Cannot really brush it hardly at all. If I got some thinner, I ordered some thinner, but I'm guessing, yeah, I mean, a couple of drops of thinner in there probably would liven it up again. Okay, well, I'm getting rid of this big brush and replacing it with what was formerly the big brush because I need to paint and make a line, really neat line here. It meets the stone. And it's kind of a raised edge. I can come at it from the side. Not terribly hard, but with the bigger brush, it just my experience tells me it just sort of swapped paint all over the place.
a pretty decent line. I'll just use this brush to finish up the front here. Mm-hmm. We get to the front of this. Yeah, the blue silver pairing and this guy. Yeah, that I'm really glad I did that. Those the three colors of blue that I used all complement each other. I think that turned out pretty well. I was going to end. I don't need to end early. I was looking for this fireplace and found it because I knew it was here, and there's enough time to get. I'm sure there's enough time if the paint dries enough, and it looks like the gray is going to be dry enough to do the wash on it soon. And if this paint holds together, I can actually finish it. And you just need to paint a tip it forward. And across the back here. Reaching for perfection here. I am reaching for the impression of the bottom of the fireplace. This paint is, so when we get the Tamiya thinner next week when it arrives, right, there's enough paint in this bottle to, paint a few things yet. Needs thinning. We'll see how the thinner works. You can see there's a lot of pigment. There's a lot of pigment left in the bottom of this bottle, but there isn't any solvent. Whoa, that didn't recover. That looks really scabby. I'm not even sure how that happened. Weird. So we're going to pull this out again and see if we can't salvage this. Okay, that should probably be okay for this kind of thing. Yeah. So, knock this up again. Maybe have it disappear. I'm going to use this darker gray wash on this. Stuff I had pulled out earlier, dried up. And I'm going to wash the entire surface of this. I'm not going to, I just want to get kind of a uniform look to the stone. And when I'm done with that, I'm going to pull out the black wash and add smoke highlights. The areas like in here and up on top and things that would be really dark. So I'm using this kind of big brush, and I just want to bring this stone alive. get it on here. I want it to, settle into spaces between the stones. The inside here can be pretty dark. Great. Thank you. Ineffective or messy sticky tack. So that brown is now a disaster because it came off and I grabbed it. So we're going to be doing a massive touch up there. And I want to get this especially into the corners. Yeah, so what can I say? What would have been a simple project has turned into now a somewhat more difficult project because I need to somehow fix all that brown. But I can finish highlighting the inside of the firebox and getting the smoke effect up there with the darker wash up because I don't care if this is particularly dry by then or not. Yeah. And what I'm going to need to do is has a distinctively non-stone-like texture. To be similar color. This is doing okay. I'm going to get out some black wash and I'll use this finer brush, and I'll really darken up the areas where the fire and the smoke would have been. This looks good because it's almost all, there's a lot of pigment in this. Okay, what I'm going to get is right back. The thing we have, since we were using this color flat earth pretty frequently for our wood floors and things, is we have a lot of it. So rather than messing with that old bottle, which is a disaster, I'm going to stir up the fresh one. Yeah, I think we'll just dump it because they've got at least 2, maybe 3 fresh bottles. I mean, try to save tiny little bits of paint in a bottle. At some point, it just becomes like a dumb thing to do. So the easiest way to dump it is to turn around throw it in the trash. Now it's gone. So this will be much better. One of the things that we've done, I'll do that when we're finishing up, so that we know what's open and what hasn't been. You see the color difference. It's really orangish and stuff. Sometimes you can't readily tell from the outside what bottle has been opened and which hasn't been. So we developed this little bit of is you put some of the paint on the bottle cap, and now you know that that's been opened because paint. We did with the gray here. Everything's sideways with the camera there. So, yeah, so we had this black wash with a lot of pigment. It's all settled on the bottom. And I'm going to use this brush and try to make it look like there's just areas where the smoke kind of built up. So I definitely want the inside of the firebox very dark, way down in the corners and along the bottom here. A lot of this heavily pigmented stuff down in here. Put it up on the sides a little bit. And definitely along the top. You can't really see it, but I want this all to look dark. And then a little bit up here too, because the smoke gets out and it smudges the front of it. Not quite as heavy as in here. You know. That dry just a little while because I don't want it to just run away. And I want the brown to dry just a little bit more. Now, clean these off again. And yeah, in a little bit of time we have left, that should dry. And I'll be able to wash the wood, and it will actually turn out to be, it'll look good. That dry for a bit. And I'm going to take this guy, and last look. Yeah, and I'm going to put them over on this floor there. So it's out of the way because I know at some point I'm just going to knock it over. This is a little jar of isopropyl alcohol. Get some on here and attempt to get this caked up paint
bristles. You might say that this is done. Oh, yeah. Pigment coming out of it. See it, but clear is now muddy. Big particles coming out too. It's going to settle to the bottom of that. This is, since this is a solvent, you can get a lot of paint in there and it still works fine. But yeah, this brush was really kind of gummed up. And it still is, but considering how much paint has come out of there already. So it's even been working. Isopropyl alcohol. We could use denatured alcohol or acrylic thinner, other things too. This seems to work pretty well. It also works on epoxy. And working with that, it cleans epoxy up before it sets. If you get it while it's still unsettled. Used as an alcohol rub, so it's not too terribly toxic. Not terribly toxic is a good thing. And I'm going to say that this is ready for the smoky ink wash. And this is really a great color on the wood. You saw it on the crossbow earlier. It really looks good on a larger surface like this. Need more, that's for sure. Just bought a bunch more because we're going to be doing set pieces with this, large floor areas. And that uses it up pretty quickly. I'm spreading it on here. Let me get it fairly even in all the surfaces because it does change the color pretty significantly. And then I want to then go back over it and brush it so that the ink gets into the wood grain. There. Do the same thing down at the bottom here. Covers all the wood area because, again, we want the color to look uniform. Okay. Eggs. And then what I want to do is brush it so that it gets into the wood grain in the print. And then what I'm going to do, so it didn't take as well as I had hoped. So I get this black wash out again.
in here, it's just like in the middle, and it just didn't stay as dark as I wanted. So I'm just going to put a bunch more in the firebox where the fire would have been, and maybe even while it's still wet, just mix a little bit in the front of the hearth a little bit. See that? Just where it's smoked up. Basically, I'm trying to get this to be really dark. And inside the box. That should do okay. So I'm gonna let that set. Clean off this brush. Get rid of what is now totally hopeless cleaning rag. Throw it in the trash. That trash will be dumped in with the cat litter in a little while, because that's my next job, is to clean the litter trays and take the bag of a week's worth of cat litter from 2 cats, and then put it in the trash, because the trash goes out to the curb tomorrow. So what we have done today was finished our Dragonkin guy, which is over there now. And in a few minutes we had left at the end, put a fireplace together. So you got a little bit of a set piece going there. Showed you the custom-made paint holders that Alexis designed and has put together. And that's pretty cool. And that brings us to the end of our stream. So thanks for joining us for Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. If you would like to support us, please feel free to go to patreon.com/diceanddungeons and become a supporter. Follow us Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 until 2. You will be seeing a lot of Nicole over the next 4 weeks, because my wife and I are going on a long vacation, and Nicole isn't. So Nicole and Alexis will be doing relaxing drawing, probably, and maybe some painting. Not really sure what. While I'm gone. That will be interesting nonetheless. So please do join in, continue to follow, support us on Patreon, follow us on social media, refer all your friends and family. Help Dice and Dungeons. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll be back next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday from 10 until 2, when we'll see some more going on. Thank you.